slightly torn apart office, but I'm in my wingback chair, my nice wingback chair, so we're good to go there. We are on day 38 from Death to Life. It's been a really good series. I hope you guys catch up on some of these. Jessica had some really good ones just recently too. Check those out. Um, yeah, so today, this is a short one, but we're going around all these different things that happened at the cross before, on, and after the cross. And one of the things that always stuck out to me was a line that was a little bit of a overlooked one again and again. And I remember coming back to it a few years ago and being like, whoa, that's actually pretty powerful. So I want to share this with you. It's in Luke 23. And this is as Jesus is carrying the cross, and the people were following him up onto the hill, the crucifixion hill, Golgotha. And it says in verse 26, when they led him away, they seized a man, Simon of Cyrene, coming in from the country, and placed on him the cross to carry behind Jesus. And here's the part that's pretty wild. And following him was a large crowd of people, and here's the really big part, and of women who were mourning and lamenting him. And then the next moment, Jesus turns and begins to talk to them. Daughters of Jerusalem, stop or do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. But what I wanted to say is, way to go, ladies. So, who do we have at the cross, by the way, as Jesus is dying on the cross? We know that all the rest of his disciples, the male disciples, they all fled, and probably rightfully so, because there was fear of being killed. Not saying that it was the right thing to do, actually, but I'm saying we've all had those moments where we have been afraid and we've not made the best choice. And I think the disciples were in that boat, except for John. And we always talk about John, and good reason to, because he stuck it through and wasn't afraid to die. Or if he was afraid to die, he pushed past the fear and in courage found himself there at the cross with Jesus, whom he loved so dearly and who he recognized loved him. But who else was at the cross? This is the wild part, I think, that we skip over sometimes, is we have for sure in John, it talks about Mary, his mother, Mary Magdalene, and then another Mary. So I think there were three Marys at the cross, and then a whole group of women. These women were completely unafraid to die at the foot of this cross, being known to be connected to this heretical Messiah who was causing religion and politics to get stirred up in a fearful way. Like he was pushing these people towards war, because that's what the Jews wanted with the Romans, and they felt like Jesus was doing this, and so he's in a really precarious position, and a fearful one for those who are closest to him. And the crazy thing is that everybody bailed on him in the midst of this because of those things surrounding him and more, except for John and except for this group of women. And I want to share really quick why I think that is. If we turn back to Luke 10, you'll see in Luke 10 where we always talk about the about Mary and Martha. And in talking about Mary and Martha, we always talk about how Martha was so busy and she was all caught up, and it was the wrong spirit to be in, and Mary had chosen the right one, which was to sit at Jesus' feet. And yes, I think that's a part of it. But an even larger piece to understand in that little chunk of scripture, and we'll read it in Matthew 10, starting in verse 38. Now, as they were traveling along, he entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him. If you've watched Chosen, you'll see this little series, which was a great little chunk that they did in there, about this exact story. And Martha welcomed him into her home. She had a sister called Mary, who was seated at the Lord's feet listening to his word. But Martha was distracted with all her preparations, and she came up to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the serving alone? Then tell her to help me. But the Lord answered and said to her, Martha, Martha, you're worried and bothered about so many things, but only one thing is necessary. For Mary has chosen the good part, which shall not be taken away from her. And so the really wild part about that statement is that word for part is the same word that they would use for like your land, your inheritance, your like the boundaries of what is yours. It was this sense of ownership. And The really cool part is Martha wasn't doing anything abnormal for a woman of her day. She was doing what would have been expected of any woman. And so she had a right to sit there and look at Mary and expect Mary to be one of the ones that would help her as she has all these guests that she has to entertain in her home. And in that moment, she's getting a little frustrated, and she's got a right to be frustrated. She's like, I need some help. We got a house full of people. And Jesus isn't telling her, man, Martha, you're too worried. I think there's two things going on. One, he's telling her in a loving way, like, I don't think you realize who's in your house, and that there's something more important than just making sure we have food and everything's nice and clean and done right. I think that is part of what's being said, but I think there's a bigger part that's being said where he's saying Mary, in that second part of that story, has chosen these new boundaries, this new part that I have offered for women. And I like he's literally taking women and he's elevating them to this new place of, who dare I say, equality, dangerous word, right? And saying women have this significance in the kingdom that has been missed and has been overlooked and has been looked down upon, to be honest. And Jesus, this is what makes him revolutionary. No wonder they had so many issues with Jesus. This was one more issue they had in a very male-driven culture, and he's over there and he's allowing women to sit at his feet as disciples. And so these women aren't used to this. These women aren't used to being able to have this place and being able to be this close to the rabbi and being able to be taught in the same way that men would be taught to follow a rabbi, to be those students, to be those disciples. Because it says literally in like the next verse in chapter 11 that he was teaching his disciples, and the implication is being that these women are these disciples. And then when we go back to Luke 22, what I was talking about earlier, one of the really cool parts about that was that these women recognized this significant place that God had said, this is what I made you for. And as God, Jesus is God in the flesh, representing to humanity what his kingdom looks like. And he's saying to all of these women, this is the place that I have for you. Like, I am calling you up to what I made you for, what I built you for, what I designed you for. You have a place in my kingdom and in my church. That is crazy. Like a significant place, not like just taking care of the children, which is huge. And I'm in children's ministry still at our church because I love it. Like I love it to pieces. It is one of the most rewarding things that I get to do. So I don't want to diminish that at all, but usually women are relegated to that or to worship. And the crazy part is Jesus was the one that was elevating them to the stature of the one who was learning as a disciple so that they could then teach. A teacher, right? And we see Paul, he gives so much credence to women leaders. Like Paul calls out women apostles, calls out women prophets, calls out women teachers and leaders. So Paul got the memo. And so I just wanted to highlight that huge fact here in the story of the cross. These women were so impacted by this new boundary, new place that God had given them, like where he said again to Mary, to Martha, like, Mary has chosen the better part, that part meaning inheritance, boundaries, and it won't be taken from her. Meaning, this is a new place for women to be in, and she's chosen it, and I'm giving her permission to be here and to do this too. Both are good. Like, please understand me. Both are good, but we can have both now. Ladies, you can have both. And then I think the really cool part, like the icing on the cake, we're going after the cross now, after all this craziness 3 days in. Who did he reveal himself to first? Who did he reveal himself to first? This is God choosing. God himself choosing who he would reveal himself to first. Not John, not Peter, not any of the other disciples. Who did he reveal himself to first? To Mary. That's what God thinks. That's what God does. That's his kingdom. That's his church. And I'm so thankful that I get to be a part of it. And ladies, I'm so thankful that you do too. And I'm so thankful for the giftings on your life that we need so much within the church. So love you all very much. And just remember that at the cross, you ladies stuck it out. And then you were the first ones that he revealed himself to in the end. That's pretty cool. Way to go, ladies, with the courage. Way to go with the devotion. Way to go with the willingness to sacrifice. Way to go with recognizing love in such a clear way. You're awesome. You're absolutely awesome. So I want to pray and we'll close out day 38. We got 2 more after this. So Father, I say thank you so much for what you're doing in your kingdom. Thank you what you came to reveal on that day, or all those days, I should say, that you poured into these women. Thank you for what you revealed on the cross as all those women followed you to the cross. Thank you that you revealed yourself to the ladies first, Lord, as they were coming to your tomb. I just say thank you for what you elevated women to that was so desperately needed in every culture, Lord, but especially there in that Jewish culture in that time. And thank you that you were the one that created a whole new kingdom that we all get to be a part of. So I pray you bless everyone today. Bless their time as we lead up into this most beautiful of seasons that we get to be a part of. Thank you that we receive your life, we receive your light, your joy. We receive this sacrifice that you gave for us, these teachings, this kingdom, in your precious name. Amen. Love you guys. Hope you have a good night.